Hello and welcome back to our YouTube series. This tutorial series is sponsored by O3 School's JAMB app. If you haven't downloaded your app by now, waste no more time. Head to Play Store, download your O3 School's JAMB app. So our topic for today is the new covenant. And if you are wondering if there was an old covenant, yes, there was an old covenant. We've done God's covenant with Israel. If you missed that video, please go back and check for it. God's covenant with Israel. Now I want to look at the new covenant. The Israelites did not obey the covenant that they had with God. They didn't keep their own end of the bargain. They shed blood, they worshipped idols, and God was angry. In his anger, he scattered them, Let's just say he turned his back on them and they were scattered. But then God reconsidered because of his holy name. He said for the sake of his holy name, because people already know that these people are God's children. So he didn't want his name to be solid like that. So he reconsidered. He said he would establish a new covenant with the people. So the disobedience of the Israelites, they didn't obey the old covenant. That's what led to a new covenant. Now both Ezekiel and Jeremiah gave accounts of the new covenant. Let's look at Jeremiah's account, which is documented in Jeremiah chapter 31 from verse 31 to 34. God said he would establish a new covenant with his people, and that this one will be different from the old covenant. It is not the same covenant that he had with them when he delivered them from Egypt and they still disobeyed him. He said, this is a new covenant. Let's see what will make this new from the old. God said he will put the law in their hearts. First up, this is not the old covenant that he had with them that they still broke even after he had, released them from captivity in Egypt. So in this new covenant, he said he will put the law in their hearts and their minds, and that everyone will know him for themselves. So gone are those days where you will teach your neighbor or someone will ask you, teach me about God. No, in this new covenant, you will know God for yourself. So nobody will teach you. You will not ask somebody, oh, know your God. No. God said from the least to the greatest, they will all know him by themselves, and then he will forgive their iniquities. And remember their sins no more. This is Jeremiah's account of the new covenant God will have with his people. God is a compassionate God. So at first he was angry and he scattered them in different lands, in foreign lands. But now he has reconsidered, and he said in this new covenant, according to Jeremiah, he will put the law in their hearts and minds. Everyone will know him for themselves, and he will forgive their iniquities and remember their sins no more. Then Ezekiel's account is documented in Ezekiel chapter 36 from verse 25 to 28. Ezekiel's account is pretty much straightforward. First, God said he will bring them back. God said he will bring them back to their land. Remember, the Israelites, they'll be scattered now in other countries, taken as captives again, probably. So God said first, he will bring them back to their land. This is Ezekiel's account now. Then he will sprinkle clean water on them. He will sprinkle clean water on them to cleanse them of all their filthiness, shedding blood, worshipping of idols. God says he's going to cleanse them after bringing them back to their land from other countries where they were scattered before. He will then sprinkle clean water on them to cleanse them of all their filthiness and disobedience and worshipping of idols. He will give them a new heart, and put his spirit in them. He will cause them to walk in his statutes. So after he has sprinkled clean water on them to cleanse them, he will give them a new heart, not the old one that doesn't listen. A new heart. He will even put his spirit in them that will cause them to walk in his statutes. They will dwell in the land he has given them. As his people, and he will be their God. He will multiply their grains and stop famine. He will enable them to rebuild their cities. The land shall no more be desolate. He will increase their men like a flock. And they will fill the land. Then they shall know that he's their God. So this is the Ezekiel's account of the new covenant. God said first he will bring them back to their land. Agreed, they have sinned against him, they got him angry, and he scattered them and all of that in other countries. But now he has reconsidered his stand and he's no more angry with the Israelites. So first he will bring them back to their land, the land that he has given them. He will bring them back, and then he will sprinkle clean water on them to cleanse them. He will give them a new heart and put his own spirit in them. That will cause them to walk in his statutes, no more in their own ways. It will cause them to walk in his statutes. Then they will dwell in the land that he has given them as his people, and he will be their God. They will come back to him. He will multiply their grains and stop famine. He will enable them rebuild their cities. Their land shall no more be desolate, and he will increase their men like a flock. They will fill the land. There are similarities between Ezekiel's account and Jeremiah's account. First, he will put the law in their hearts and minds. Same thing here. We give them a new heart and put his spirit in them. One thing is sure, this time you are no more doing it by yourself. He's now assisting them. They are no more doing it by themselves. Even to keep their own end of the covenant, again, God has to help them keep their end of the covenant. So this is Jeremiah's account and Ezekiel's account. Now we look at similarities between the old covenant God had with the Israelites and the new one. So first, for the Old Covenant, the laws were written on tablets. The laws will be written in their hearts. So this is the first difference between the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. In the Old Covenant, the laws were written on tablets. Moses would go to God, God would speak to Moses, and then Moses would write it down, just like the Ten Commandments, wrote it on, stones, and then present to the Israelites. But in this New Covenant, there is no writing of any law on the stone. It's already in your heart. God has put it there. According to Jeremiah's account, God said he will put it in your mind and in your heart, unlike in the Old Covenant where they were written on tablets. The covenant was sealed with the blood of animals. In the Old Covenant, the covenant was sealed with the blood of animals. Remember, Moses made an altar with 12 stones representing the 12 tribes of Israel, and then the Israelites offered sacrifices of, oxen, and then he sprinkled half of the blood on the altar and half of the blood on the people of Israel, telling them that this is the blood of the covenant that you have made with the Lord. In this new covenant, there are no animals. You're not offering any sacrifices, no burnt offerings or peace offerings, but what? The blood of Jesus. And then in the Old Covenant, Moses was the mediator. Now Jesus is the mediator. God made the Old Covenant with the Israelites through Moses. When he came down in his, in his might, he came in fire and everywhere was engulfed in smoke. The people of Israel were scared and they told Moses, keep communicating to God on our behalf. Just come back and tell us what God has said. We don't want to hear him directly. So they were scared. But now there is no Moses. The mediator is Jesus. In this new covenant, no more the old covenant where you send someone to talk to God and then the person will come back and pass God's message back to you. Now Jesus is the mediator. You can talk to him directly by yourself, wherever you are, you can talk to. Then the old covenant was based on collective responsibility. The new covenant is based on individual responsibility. In the old covenant, it was a collective thing. We all had to, if someone committed a sin, it affected, him and his family and all of that. That's why we said the fathers have eaten grapes, the children are now having sour teeth. So, but in the new covenant, it is individually, because God said he will put the law in your heart and in your mind, and you will know him for yourself. Nobody will teach you. This is not the time of know your God. Oh, teach my neighbor or teach me my neighbor. No, this time God said even from the least to the greatest, they will all know him for themselves. So while the old covenant was based on collective responsibility, that means this person's own affecting the family, and all of that. The new covenant is based on individual responsibility. You know God for yourself. That's the new covenant. Then lastly, we said the old covenant is temporal. Or the old covenant was temporal. The old covenant was temporal, while the new covenant is permanent. The old covenant was temporal. It was based on, the Israelites obeying God, keeping to their own end of their agreement. They made a covenant. God said, if you will obey me, if you will keep my covenant, I will make you. But then they did not obey. They shed blood. They worshipped idols. So that covenant had to go. So the old covenant was temporal, while the new covenant is now permanent. So these are some differences between the old covenant and the new covenant. The laws were written on tablets. The laws were written in their hearts. So we said Moses would get the instructions from God and write it out for the Israelites. The laws will be written in their hearts. God is going to put the laws in their hearts. Then the covenant was sealed with the blood of animals. As at then, you offered sacrifices, peace offerings, burnt offerings, and the like. Even when they were making the old covenant, they sacrificed oxen, and Moses sprinkled the blood on the Israelites as well as on the altar to seal the covenant. But now the new covenant will be sealed with the blood of Jesus. Here Moses was the mediator. Jesus is now the mediator. Also, we said the old covenant was based on collective responsibility. Everybody could suffer for the sin of a person, and that was even seen in the case of Achan. The new covenant is based on individual responsibility. Unlike here, where God punished the whole of Israel. And when they later discovered it was Achan had to suffer with his family, even his animals, like everybody had to die. Now it is individual responsibility. Then the old covenant was temporal. The Israelites did not obey God, so the covenant was broken. But this new one is permanent because it is individual, not collective. Now, we now go to the O3 Schools JAMB app to check for questions on the new covenant. So you go to question search, and then you type in the subject, which is CRK, and the topic, the new covenant. Okay, here's the question. This is number 3 in the year 1997. According to Jeremiah, the vital element in the new covenant God would make the Jews was that A, he would bless all nations through the Jews. B, man would be enabled to keep God's law. C, salvation will come through a virgin seed. D, the individual will be accountable before God. The answer is B. Man will be enabled to keep God's law. This time God is going to put it in your heart. So man will be enabled to keep God's law. Then we have a 2001 question, question 12. The new covenant God made with the house of Judah was written on A, stones, B, tablets, C, their foreheads, D, their hearts, D, their hearts. God has said he will put it in their minds and in their hearts. Then this is a 2012 question, question 3. According to Ezekiel, the new covenant would involve A, sacrificing oxen, B, sprinkling clean water upon the people, C, washing the people with the blood of an animal, D, erecting an altar, B, sprinkling clean water upon the people. God says first he will bring them out from the places where they were scattered, and then he will sprinkle clean water on them to cleanse them of their filthiness. So these are just some questions I pulled out from the O3 Schools JAMB app. You can have access to these questions and more if you download the O3 Schools app from Play Store and activate it. Thank you.